Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Network Sunday, May 27th, 2018. This is episode 1492. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Texture. Access the world's most popular magazines anytime, anywhere, using your smartphone or tablet. Go to texture.com/twit and start your free trial today. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yeah, it's time to talk computers, the internet, home theater. We talk about digital photography on this show. Of course, smartphones all the time. Smart watches, a little less of the time. Virtual reality, augmented reality, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is my number. If you want to talk high tech, let's do it. Come on. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Time to mute. Somebody's in the chat room. We have a great chat room, by the way. irsc.twit.tv if you want to join the chat in the back. The kids in the back of the class nattering amongst themselves. As long as you're doing that, actually the best thing to do is remember the website, which is techguylabs.com, and there's links there to the chat room, the phone numbers there, previous shows, all that stuff, and it's free. There's no sign up. techguylabs.com. Everybody in the chat room saying, all right, mute your echoes. Time to mute your speed. They listen, don't they? And they, even today, I said, what did I say? I said lexical scoping out loud, and my Amazon Echo jumped and said, hello, yes, I would help you if I understood what that meant. Of course, the story really is this couple in Portland, Oregon, who say that their Echo secretly recorded. See, this is loaded. This is a loaded way to say it. Secretly recorded a private conversation and sent it to an acquaintance of theirs. Secretly. I don't think okay, so first thing I'll tell you right now. I'm trying in my life, and I think on this show, not to do something called anthropomorphization, making a machine into a human or acting as if it has human intentions or motives. Your Echo is not doing anything secretly. It's not really doing anything. It's just a fancy calculator. So really, it's important to remember that, because we as humans attribute very naturally, I guess it's part of our biology, motives to everything, right? It's got secret plans. It doesn't. It's just a calculator. Now, it's a calculator that was designed to have microphones, very sensitive array microphones. I think there's 7 of them in the Amazon Echo that are, specially tuned to listen to the environment. And it's listening for one thing. It's trigger word. And you have 4 choices. I won't say the word, although everybody else seems to on local news and everything. I won't say the word that most people use, the ALEXA, right? Because I don't want to trigger yours. I did say lexically scoped. I hope that didn't trigger yours. I should call her. No, you can't, because anything kind of even close, she's going, what? Because it's a fairly dumb calculator, really. Seems smart, but really all that's happening is there's a tiny little processor in here that goes to those microphones. You pick the pattern it's looking for, and you've seen recordings of audio, right? The wave form, the little squiggle. If you stretched it out, it wouldn't look like a squiggle. It looks like a squiggle because it's jammed into a time frame. But if you stretched it out, it would look kind of like what we call a sine wave, just curves going. And all the Echo's doing is looking at those curves and trying to match them up to the curves for the trigger phrase. It's by the way, they call it speech independent or voice independent. It's not looking for your voice unless you've trained it. Actually, you can train it. It's probably be the first thing, but nobody does this. Have you tried training your Echo? It involves reading a lot of sentences. I don't know, a dozen sentences, and you feel like a dork doing it. But it does make it a little more accurate, I think. I try to train my Echoes and my Google Home and all those, give them some additional speech samples so they can get smarter, so that curve that it's trying to match in its little pea brain is closer to the curve of you. That'll help you with false positives. See, that's the problem. Anything that's close, it's just that curve. If it goes, oh, that matches. Now, as soon as it matches, the Echo and the Google Home works the same way. All these devices, Cortana, Siri, everybody works the same way. As soon as they see the match, it'll say, oh, and it'll turn on the recording. That's when it starts recording immediately, and simultaneously start sending what it's recorded back to the home office and for processing. So it doesn't have enough brains to do anything but recognize that initial curvy little line. Okay, calculator. See, I'm anthropomorphizing, aren't I? I'm saying I and so. No, the calculator, the little dopey little calculator in the thing, will then send it back to the home office where there are smarter calculators, much smarter. And the much smarter calculators have been trained over years to recognize, or at least try to recognize, human speech. They're still pretty poor at it, but they're doing a decent job. You have the experience if you've ever used Siri or Echo or any of these, that they kind of sometimes sort of get you, and they make a lot of hilarious mistakes too. That's the problem, the hilarious mistakes. Hilarity does not always ensue. In this case, the woman who we only know her first name, Danielle, she told this to Cairo Radio, Channel 7 up in Seattle. She and her husband were shocked, I tell you, when one of his employees who lives in another state contacted them and said, hey, I just got an audio recording on my Echo of you guys having a private conversation. She said, what? What? No, that's not possible. And he said, yeah, you were talking about hardwood floors. That's when Danielle said, oh my goodness, it must have secretly recorded my conversation. No, not really. I don't mean to make light of this. It's certainly something to be aware of. Amazon, when contacted, said, well, yes, in fact. Recode said, hey, Amazon, is that possible? And, of course, Amazon has records of all this. You do, too. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but you can go back and look at, in your Echo app, what you've said and what Echo heard. You can hear the recording. Google does this, too. You can hear the recordings. It's actually kind of humorous to go back and listen to all your recordings. Maybe humiliating. All the times you swore at Echo, yeah, they kept them. Yep. Mm-hmm. So Amazon goes back, looks at the log, said, yeah, well, so here's what happened. And it's really a fluke of major proportions. It is not secretly recording a private conversation. It was doing this dumb little calculator, and the bigger, brainier calculators back home were doing what they thought you wanted them to do, what they thought you wanted them to do. So Amazon said, so the Echo woke up because it heard its trigger phrase in the background. This is now, Danielle and her husband are having a conversation. They're not paying any attention to the Echo in the corner. It's like, they're just talking. But they said something. Maybe they said lexically scoped. I don't know what they said. They said something that triggered it. And now, sometimes, this is up to you how you've set the Echo. You could set the Echo to go bloop. It's not by default. I would turn that on. When it wakes up, it goes bloop. You could set it also to make bloop these sounds when it sends off the message. So that's helpful, and I would do that right away, turn that on. So whether or not it went bloop, probably didn't, because she probably didn't have that on. And then, when she started listening, see, I did it again. When the stupid little calculator recorded the rest of what was going on and sent it back to the home office, the big brain calculators thought they heard send message somewhere in there. Maybe they did. Maybe they heard something that just sounded like it. At which point, the Echo said, as it is wont to do, to whom? To whom would you like to send that message? Apparently, Danielle and her husband still didn't hear anything. Kept talking, but somehow, you see how long a shot this is, how unlikely. Somehow they said something that sounded like a name in the contact list. It has to be a name in your contact list. Apparently, this out-of-state employee. At which point, the Echo again spoke up and said, Joey, right? Or Joey who? What's the last name? Whatever. It did say something again, and then interpreted whatever Danielle and her husband said as right or correct or yes. Amazon says they said right. And at that point, there is no more interaction from the Echo. That's a mistake, and it sends it right off. This recording of their conversation that they didn't even know about. So there's a few things you can do. Train your Echo. That's a good thing. Make sure it goes bloop when it turns on. Amazon can do some things. They say, well, yeah, this is so unlikely. We haven't seen this before, but we're going to do something about it. I don't know what it'll be, but I can imagine a couple of things. One, have more interactions. Are you sure? I'm going to send, maybe how about this one? Here's what I heard. Siri does this. Here's what I heard. Is this what you want me to send? Just get a confirmation instead of just sending it. That would be nice. That would give you another option to cancel. Maybe them another chance in between their heated conversation. I'm guessing it was a heated conversation because they didn't hear it. To say, oh, yeah, no, what? Stop. So they could do that. Here's what I really want them to do. Don't you let me tell you what the trigger phrase would be. Now, to do that, they'd have to put a little bit smarter calculator in that thing. But it's happened before. Once before, the Moto X phone let you record your own trigger phrase. And you can make it then something highly unlikely. Like, mine was, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you really want to make it harder, you're my only hope. Make it that. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's not likely to show up. It's long. It's many syllables. It's weird in regular conversation. Maybe it is. So make something else. Something you're not going to say. Yesterday in the chat room, they said, Afghanistan, Bananistan. Okay. Okay. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's maybe a little long. Something. That's another way Amazon could make this better. And I actually think it would make everybody happier, too, because then I could say the A word. Because yours would be different, right? 8888 Ask Leo. Does this now? See, my fear is everybody's going to get all paranoid over this, and I don't think we should. It's a calculator. You know what it's doing now. It's not doing anything super sophisticated. And make some minor changes to it. It's unlikely it's going to ever do that again. 8888 Ask Leo. What do you think? Or is this just the end of the world as we know it? Are you unplugging them all, throwing them away? Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Let's talk. I have a trigger word, but I'm not telling you what it is. We'll talk right after this. Stupid computer. No, you say that too much. TECH in the USA, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kim Schaffer, there she is. She's the phone person. TECH.
TECH in the USA.
In the USA. TECH in the... It works, doesn't it?
It does.
Hi, Kim.
Good morning.
Happy Memorial Day. You shouldn't say Happy Memorial Day, should you?
Yeah, just...
I was looking it up in the Wikipedia. And started during the Civil War as Decoration Day. They call it Decoration Day because you were supposed to go decorate the graves of fallen warriors. So that was a good name. It was kept Decoration Day for many years, but now we call it Memorial Day. Same purpose, though, to recognize those people in the armed services who've given their all in the service of our country. Yep. And so it is a serious day.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
They celebrate it as Remembrance Day. I think it's a different date around the world, but it's that's the where you wear the red poppies.
Mm-hmm. I've seen those.
Yeah, I think that's a nice tradition.
It is.
I think we should decorate ourselves, our lapels. It's November 11th, 11/11.
I have a friend who buys one from a vet every year in the city. She gets off the ferry, and there's a guy there selling them. And she wears it. Yeah.
I was looking for my poppy from last year, but I couldn't find it. Today is also the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500.
Yep.
So it's also race day.
It's race day.
But today for us is only one thing. Answer the phone day.
Yep.
Shall we?
We shall. How about Ryan and Sacratomato?
That's an old Dr. Don.
Dr. Don.
Did you grow up listening to Dr. Don?
I didn't. He was already off the air by the time
you're just a child.
Yeah, because I think he went till about 82 or
Famous
so.
San Francisco morning man on KFRC.
Yep.
He would say things like, fasten your KFR seat belts. Hello, Dr. Don.
Yeah.
Sacratomato.
Yeah. And by all accounts, a wonderful man, too. So
Yes, I hear that.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've worked with many of his former colleagues, so.
You know, you think about these are the people you grew up with that you heard every morning, that you went to work with every morning, and they were legendary in their time, and then they're just completely forgotten. And you're probably the last generation that will ever, because you never heard him, but you knew people who knew him.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's over.
Anybody just a few years older than me knew exactly who he was.
So in about 5 minutes, the tech guy's just going to be completely forgotten.
Well, and radio, unfortunately.
Radio.
It's not.
What's radio?
It's
what is that?
We're not breeding new talent, is what I'm trying to say. Automation and technology has taken over. So
but it's such a great medium.
Be other tech guys and other Dr. Dons in this.
I don't know if that's true. There will be. They'll just be somehow distributed in other ways. I think people always want to talk and listen to people.
Yeah.
I think that people will always want that. Maybe it'll be podcasts.
YouTube,
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah.
Those cutie pies of the world.
So you're just bitter because you've lived through the demise of traditional radio.
When I started, the advertising dollars were great.
Yeah.
And people were making money, and now it's minimum wage, if that.
We're still doing really great, and I know that our sister stations all over the country are very profitable, oddly enough. So who knew? So it's not over yet. Let's not quit. Let's not quit yet. Who you said the Sacramento?
Ryan,
I should talk to Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, gloomy Gus. Thank you for bringing me down. Hi, Ryan. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. It's great to talk to you.
Well, thank you, and thanks for calling.
Thanks. I actually I was there for a taping of the Screensavers back on January 6th.
Oh, nice.
I had a great time.
Thanks for coming.
Really, really appreciate you.
My pleasure.
So my question today is, I'm the president of a small neighborhood pool, and a couple years ago I bought a new router because the old one had kind of died on us. But the problem is, as soon as we get a bunch of people there for like a swim meet or whatever, the whole thing just kind of locks up. I think once there's about a dozen people connected, it just kind of stops working. So I'm hoping you have a recommendation for, I think they're called a high-density router, and I know I've taken your advice in the past. I've installed Eero at a friend's house, and that worked great.
Did that help?
But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They had a really big house, and it just made a world of difference.
So the mesh routers aren't specifically high-density routers. When you're at a business, for instance, here, we jump through hoops with enterprise-grade wireless systems. Imagine a hotel, same thing, with lots of base stations. They are essentially like these mesh routers. You're not going to want to buy those because they're hard to maintain and also expensive. But I think the mesh is probably your best bet, and you can get more beacons, more of the small units. Eero, we should mention, is a sponsor. I think for most home users, that's the best you're going to be able to do. We can talk a little more about this when we come back because I got to take a break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The problem is not that the routers won't support all those people. The problem is kind of a artifact of how Wi-Fi works. It's kind of weird. We've talked about this before, Ryan. It's a collision-based system. So I didn't know this for a long time, but Jim Slater told me about this. He wrote the reviews on the wire cutter of all of the mesh routers, and so the way the Wi-Fi works is when two people are using it, it's collision-based. So actually, this doesn't impact if you're all on the same SSID. I'm not sure. I have to ask him about this because if you're all on the same SSID, it doesn't. But I don't think. But it does if you have many Wi-Fi signals in the same neighborhood. When one Wi-Fi router is broadcasting and the other one starts up and it sees the traffic, it goes, oh, sorry. Didn't mean to step on you. Go ahead. And then it waits a random amount of time. Ethernet does this too. Waits a random amount of time and then starts up. And if it's clear, we'll continue. It's kind of like how ham radio works. And what you have is in ham radio, they call it a pile-up, where you have everybody talking at once. Nobody's heard. So there are a few ways to solve this, but the mesh routers are designed to handle this and respond to it as best they can. So I think that's your best bet. Now, you said it's a neighborhood?
Yeah, so it's a little community pool in our neighborhood, and the biggest problem is when we get swim meet and everybody connects to the Wi-Fi, and then it just kind of stops working for everybody.
How many is everybody?
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell how many people are connecting, but I would guess it's somewhere between 25 and 50 people that are, connecting with the phones.
You have a theoretical limit of addresses that can be assigned by a router of 250 some, 55, I guess. But so you're not hitting that theoretical limit. It sounds like congestion is the problem. And one of the things that does help, and one of the things that enterprises use heavily, is beamforming, where the router actually aims the signal to the person they're conversing with. So that is, I know, isn't that amazing? And that is a feature of 802.11 AC, has beamforming, but it's not a requirement. It's merely a capability. So you're looking for a router that can do beamforming.
Okay.
And all the Eeros can do it. Orbi might be a better choice for you because it's a little higher power and a little bit faster. That's the Netgear, ORBI. And so the idea, and most routers now will can support beamforming. You want to make sure that you look in the settings and have it turned on. And then again, the Eeros and the others, they're designed to be maintenance free, user interference free. They'll supposedly handle all this automatically.
Okay, so it would be a matter of getting the base station and a couple beacons and kind of spreading them out.
Yes. Yeah.
Letting it do the rest.
Yeah, and you'll have to spread them in such a way that each beacon can see the other fairly well.
Right. Okay, great. Well, I hope that should help. Yeah, the little consumer grade TP-Link is great at the home, but in a setting with people, it just
you
really
need more than that. Yeah, get one of the meshes. Yeah. And maybe if not Eero, look at Orbi. Plume. I use Plume as well at home, and Plume's idea maybe not. It depends how close each neighbor is, but Plume it makes little pools of Wi-Fi, and it does it mostly at 5G so that they don't interfere with each other. They have to be close enough that they can mesh, but in effect, they make little unique pools of Wi-Fi wherever the Plume is. The Plumes are a little less expensive per unit, so you might look at those. Comcast has done a deal with them. Comcast now uses them. They call them their what do they call them? It's part of their X-Fi system, and so that's an interesting way to go as well. I would say try the Eero, the Orbi, or the Plume. Any of those three. Okay.
Great. And does the Plume, is that the one that has a subscription model to it?
No, none of these cost monthly.
Okay.
Take care.
Well, great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lee. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Nice to see you again. Crazy Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. I had to wait for Ozzy to get going there. I was talking before the break, we were talking with Ryan about getting his Wi-Fi system to work with many users. There are theoretical limits to the number of users that could be on a single access point, but you're not hitting that limit, I think. I think more likely it's just collisions. It's, as I mentioned, it's designed to be a system that is polite and trades off. And I think I think so many people using it, you want something that can beamform, which is aim at individual users. Not all routers can do that, but many routers now, 802.11 AC routers can do that, is beamforming. So what do we use? John, do you know if we use Ruckuses here or we use Ruckus? Okay. So in enterprises, you'll see a lot of routers from Ubiquiti or Ruckus or similar. These are expensive. They require some expertise to configure. There's one in here. There's my Ruckus right above me. And so we have a good IT guy. Russell's really good. And we have always had Wi-Fi collision issues because not only do we have a lot of users, we're heavy users, right, in the studio and everybody's. And so we have, I think, 4 or 5 SSIDs, and the Ruckuses are doing beamforming. There's all sorts of tricks he's using to make it work reliably. And businesses, and imagine a hotel, where you have hundreds of rooms, hundreds of users, all in the same hotel Wi-Fi network. Those are the places where you have to do some special stuff. I think your best bet if you're going to do this as a home user, their most affordable choice is probably going with one of the mesh routers. There's some really great ones out there. Eero's the sponsor, of course, and I use Eero at home. I also use Plume at home, and I've used Netgear's Orbi at home in the past. All the three of them will do I think, a very good job of getting through the congestion and helping everybody be able to. It's interesting. I guess he's got a cul-de-sac or something, a neighborhood. They're all sharing Wi-Fi. That's an interesting idea. You can see the problem with that, of course. The other thing that'll work best in a situation like that is using 5G. Remember, Wi-Fi can do, originally it was 802.11b was using only one frequency range, what they call the 2.4 gigahertz range, and that was because it was an unregulated range that anybody could use. Baby monitors use it. Some cordless phones use it. So there's even more interference at 2.4 gigahertz. If you go to the other level, the more modern Wi-Fi routers will also use 5 gigahertz. You'll see them sometimes billed as dual band or even tri-band. Tri-band means it can use 2.4 gigahertz and two different frequencies at 5 gigahertz. It sounds like that's a frequency, 5 gigahertz. It's not. It's a band. It's a range of frequencies around 5 gigahertz. And so there are two different frequency ranges it can use. That's a tri-band router. Using those higher frequencies sometimes works better, and I'll tell you why. It's physics. The higher the frequency of a radio wave, the worse it propagates. So the megahertz, your radio right now is in kilohertz if it's AM and megahertz if it's FM. It's at a lower frequency. That's why it works. Goes through walls, goes through ceilings, travels great distances. A lot of power behind it, but it works because of the physics of these bands. It can get through walls. As you get to higher frequencies, the microwave frequencies, the gigahertz frequencies, they're stopped more readily. And 5 gigahertz is much more readily stopped by a wall or door, a roof, than 2.4. And kind of paradoxically, that might be what you want, because then you don't have the collisions. When you're in your little pool of 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, your neighbor can't see it. You need a way to spread it. That's where a mesh network that has multiple access points operating at 5 gigahertz, that might be the best solution, because your little pool of Wi-Fi is invisible to your neighbors. That's kind of what you want. You want the isolation. Believe it or not, that avoids the collision problem. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my best way of describing this. Probably, I'm sure there are engineers out there listening going, that's not how it works. It's close. Think of it as an analogy, a myth about how it works. On we go to Manny in Vero Beach, Florida. Hi, Manny. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I am great. How are you?
Wonderful. I got two questions. If one LastPass, and if you allow me to, one on Sonos. But
please do. Both of which I am a happy customer of.
Awesome.
LastPass actually is a sponsor of some of our podcasts. I should mention that.
Well, that's why I have LastPass.
Oh, good.
Laporte.
I should explain. I mentioned that so that you in your own mind can decide whether I am biased because they sponsor our shows. I try not to be, but just so it's a disclaimer so you understand. Anyway, what would you like to know?
First of all, thank you, Kim, for being who you are. You're awesome. We appreciate you.
Aw, thank you. Aw.
Yeah. But anyways, okay, I don't use very many apps on my phone, very limited.
Yeah.
But 80% of my apps I have in my LastPass Vault. Is it smart for me to get in the habit of just using LastPass on my phone and opening them up? Like for instance, my banking, eBay, Amazon.
Yes.
I just open those up in my Vault instead of...
oh, I see. So LastPass, sometimes you can open something from the LastPass app. Is that what you mean, instead of directly?
Yes.
No, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's a convenience to you. It'll, in effect, have the same effect, which is you'll open up the app. So that's just so that you can live in LastPass and open websites and apps from LastPass, and they autofill the passwords. It's maybe a little more tricky to cut and paste. If you're on Android, that pretty much works automatically. LastPass will autofill apps. Does not do that on iOS quite as readily. You have to kind of go, there might be a little button that you can press, or you go to the share sheet and do it there. So it's a little more complicated. Or you just, what I do is just, go press the home button, go to LastPass, copy the password, press the home button, go to the app, and paste it in. It's a little more complicated. But you mentioned some very, eBay and your bank. You don't want that password to be compromised. And the other reason you use LastPass is so that you don't be tempted to reuse the same password. When Twitter required 300 million users about a month ago to recreate their passwords because their password vault had been compromised, that's fine if you change your Twitter password. But what if you use that password on 50 other sites? You got to change all of them. So it's much better to the best hygiene is to use a long, strong password that's unique on every site. And that's why you use a password vault like LastPass.
Cool. Right on. Okay, now Sonos. I do have Sonos in my living room, which I've talked to you about that before.
Yep.
But do you think that Sonos will ever support 2 subs and Dolby Atmos?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. So right now, the best you can do with a Sonos is a speaker system that's wireless. I really love it. It's very pricey, but you do it a little at a time and you don't notice the pain. Right now, the best you can do is 5.1 surround with Sonos. If you get the Sonos, and I have one setup like that where you have the Sonos sound bar under the TV. That. You have the sub for the subwoofer. Soundbar gives you left, right, center. That's 3. You get the sub. That's 4. Actually, that's the 0.1. And then you have left, right surrounds. You can use little Sonos ones as
I have 2 Sonos Play 3s.
Play 3s or whatever as surrounds. That gives you a nice effect. As far as I know, you'd have to ask Sonos, are you ever going to do a second sub? That would be nice, wouldn't it? And then if you needed the Atmos, which is I became a believer. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, has been a big Atmos fan, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's great." If you go to an Atmos theater, there's speakers above you, around you, everywhere, and that means the sound is completely surrounding you. And you can simulate that at home with 2 more speakers that either are on the ceiling or more likely fire up from the left and right speakers and bounce off the ceiling. I don't know if Sonos plans to do that. They don't do it currently. My guess is they won't. But I can't speak for them. If there's anybody from Sonos listening, give me a ring. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Line 4, Luis in Medford, Massachusetts. Hi, Luis.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Enjoying my holiday.
Yay. Are you barbecuing tonight?
No, I don't cook. My wife is out of the country.
Oh, so you're really enjoying the holiday. Put your pants on and let's talk. Yeah, no. I know. That's what I'm doing, sitting around with a beer and my shorts, just watching TV. That's the way to do it. That's called a great Memorial Day weekend. What can I do for you, Luis?
Okay, so I am a dinosaur when it comes to GUIs and that type of stuff.
My favorite kind of dinosaur, a GUI dinosaur.
Yeah. I am very well versed on the command line.
You're kidding. So you are a dinosaur. You're one of those command line guys, huh?
Yes, I'm a Unix guy, Unix person.
Nice.
And
that's the one true operating system.
Yeah, that's how I did my living once a long time ago. So I have this friend, and this is like a preemptive question. He's telling me that he has problem with his Windows 10 and all that stuff. I want to help him. I want to be nice.
Tell him you need DOS 6.22. That's what you need. Oh yeah, no, Windows 10. I have mixed feelings about Windows. I do feel like with Windows 10, Microsoft finally kind of got through the bad adolescence that was Windows 8. And something closer to Windows. I think the best Windows was Windows 7, Windows 2000. Those were the 2 best versions of Windows. And I think Windows 10 is pretty close to that. They still have they have a lot of frippery. You command line folks probably don't like all the frippery involved, all the fancy doodads. But it for a normal user, I think it's pretty good. And then Microsoft's pushing out now an update to it, 1803, the spring 2018 update, and it's breaking it for so many people. We had a caller yesterday who has the black screen of death. It just bricked his computer. We're in a lot of blue screens of death on install. There seems to be a problem with some software, particularly the Avast antivirus. It's just a mess. And unfortunately, Microsoft has rushed this update out, not in the sense that it wasn't fully tested, but they're just pushing it out right away. So everybody who's using Windows 10 is going to get it in a period of a few weeks, and it's turning into a nightmare.
Oh, maybe that is his problem, and I was gonna arm myself with some information about viruses and stuff like that, because
what is his symptom?
He is luggage. He said it's luggage, and from time to time it flickers. I don't know.
Any computer, this can happen to any PC. You're used to Big Iron, where you don't have these problems, but partly that's because you have a priesthood that is constantly monitoring these devices and making sure that anything like this gets fixed immediately. But when you're running your own computer at home, your desktop computer, this is not at all uncommon. The first thing I always look for is the one moving part in that computer, the hard drive. And because hard drive errors are not uncommon at all, and because the computer valiantly tries to work its way through the problem, I can do it. I know this hard drive is not reliable, but I'm going to keep going. And what it ends up doing is it makes it look sluggish. Because what the computer's trying to read a part of the hard drive, a sector on the hard drive, it's hard to read, so it tries again, finally reads that, then goes to the next one. Oh, this one's hard to read too. Tries again. And meanwhile, the user's sitting there waiting, and it's not apparent that it's the hard drive. It's just that it makes the whole thing feel sluggish. So the first thing I always look at is the hard drive, and there's a couple of ways you can attempt to fix this. One is just wiping the drive and starting over, reformatting and starting over. Sometimes that's sufficient. If there's actual errors on the hard drive, then replacing the hard drive. And of course, the best thing you can do nowadays is not use a spinning hard drive, but use a solid-state hard drive. Most new computers come with these. They're so much faster. And one thing you could do as a dinosaur, but you're a dinosaur and understands how to use a screwdriver, is at least investigate whether you can replace his internal hard drive with an SSD. How old is his computer?
About 3-4 years.
Yeah. So it's probably got a spinning drive in it. So conceptually, you understand what you'll have to do. You'll have to back up his data.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to see if, some laptops you can't replace the hard drive. Some all-in-ones like the iMac are very difficult to replace the hard drive. So you first investigate whether it's, easily replaced. In many computers, though, it's just a couple of screws. You pop it out, you put in a new one. So look and see. Go to a site where you can find out what hard drives work on. What brand is it? Do you know?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. So you want to find out exactly what model it is. And then there's places you can go on the chiefly people who sell SSDs like Crucial, and they usually will have a way you can look up that model and see how hard it is to fix. If you can swap out the existing hard drive for an SSD, you'll have to back up the data, and you, of course, will have to reinstall Windows and put the data on. I can almost guarantee you, even if the problem isn't the hard drive, he's going to be a very happy camper, because for a couple $100 at most, you've increased the speed of that boot time by a factor of 5 or 6. Everything will run faster. And if the problem was just that Windows was getting sluggish, or he did in fact have malware, you'll fix that as well. So you want to be a hero. Yeah, you want to be a hero. Investigate replacing his existing hard drive with a solid-state drive.
That will be the easiest route.
Yeah, easy, sort of. I mean, you have to back up the data. You have to download. He's running Windows 10, right?
He's running Windows 10, but I'm not going to tell him that I can back up his data.
Yeah, well, make him do it. He should be doing it. The nice thing about Windows 10 is once a computer is running Windows 10, you no longer have to do that serial number rigmarole. Microsoft just keeps track of what computers are running Windows 10, and so you can download a new copy of Windows 10 from Microsoft. Get it from Microsoft. It's free to download. If you Google Microsoft Windows 10 Media Creation Tool. You'll get right to that page. Download it, make a little USB boot install of Windows 10 on a thumb drive. Bring it over to them. Take them down to do they have computer stores anymore? I don't know. Take them down to the computer store, the big box store, and get an SSD or maybe buy it on Amazon, and then do the swap. What you can do to save you the backup thing is get an external USB unit enclosure for his old drive. Put that in there. He'll still have access to it, right? So he could pull all the files he needs off of there, and it'll always be there. It'll be like he's got a backup. And then install Windows on put the new SSD in, install Windows on it, and I can guarantee you it'll be like a new computer. It is the single best thing you can do to a computer.
Yeah, let me tell you real quick how long ago I stopped GUIs. I used to work for the U.S. Navy, for DoD.
Oh, neat.
And I developed a driver for NT 4.1.
Well, that was a GUI, right?
Because we needed a kernel that was real time, and there was only a company in Germany that at that time this is 1991, 92.
Yeah. Well, you've got a little experience. I think you could do this. You can get a Samsung 850 EVO hard drive SSD, 250 gigs for $100.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, you can get bigger, obviously, but the Samsung EVOs are very good, and almost guaranteed will, at least initially, you'll be a hero. You'll go, wow, you still got it, man. Luis still has it. Now go back and enjoy your weekend, Luis. It's great to talk to you. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. More of your calls right after this. Tech Guy Show brought to you this week by Texture. Texture's a great app. I'm a big Texture fan. It's think of it as Netflix for magazines. I actually keep Texture on a Fire tablet, but it works on tablets. It works on your iPad. Works on your phone. It gives you access to more than 200 of the best magazines in the country, all for $10 a month. It's awesome. It's the only app that offers unlimited access to Time, Atlantic, PC Magazine, The New Yorker, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, all the and the thing is, there's great writing, great photography being done in magazines, and there's such good stuff out there. And I know every month, actually every week there's one article at least in The New Yorker I've got to read. Every month there's at least one article in The Atlantic and Vanity Fair and Rolling Stone I've got to read. If I were to subscribe to all those magazines, not only would it cost more, but I'd have a pile of paper buckling my coffee table. There's also this guilt thing, and I used to subscribe to the Weekly New Yorker, but you feel like you should read the old issue before you read the new issue, and by the time, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just end up not reading it at all because I was so far behind. You don't have to worry with Texture. With Texture, there's great reading all the time. Plus, Texture, they have curated sections, new and noteworthy stuff just for you. So even if you don't know what to read, you're going to find articles in every subject. Discover new magazines. There's magazines, my business, like Billboard, Ad Age, that I should be reading, but I can't afford to subscribe to them. With Texture, I've got them. And of course, if you want to keep up on the royal wedding, I'm not going to subscribe to People, but I can definitely read it there. Texture is amazing. Unlimited access to over 200 top magazines. You get not only every page, including the ads, by the way. You get every page in the newsstand issue, which is great. You also get back issues, and you get features you wouldn't get in a magazine, like video. And I have to tell you, if you love photography, when you zoom in on images in National Geographic or Shutterbug, and you can really pixel peep in a way you can't in the magazine because they have to screen it to print it. They really degrade the quality. You're getting the full quality on Texture. I love that. Really love Texture, especially when I travel. I always have 20 magazines on my iPad when I travel. Start your free trial. You can sign up right now at texture.com/twit. Texture.com/twit. You'll get a free 7-day trial. Start reading the latest issues of your favorite magazines today and discover new magazines, new articles. Stay informed and entertained. It's just great. Texture, TEXTURE.com/twit. We thank Texture for their support of our Tech Guy, all our podcasts, but the Tech Guy podcast today in particular. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. If you want to talk digital photography, Chris Marquardt will be joining us about half an hour. He's our photo guy. Always has some good tips, tricks, ideas. Meanwhile, back to the phones we go at 8888 Ask Leo. Ryan on the line from Anaheim, California. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I wanted to give you a heads up and give you a call back about my problem with Samsung with my battery.
Yeah.
I called them, and they were giving me a hard time. They had my phone for over 30 days.
Was yours the one that the battery had swollen up a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, and at the time I said that's a serious issue because, as you know, and this happened to Samsung with the Note 7, if the battery kind of gets pressure put on it, it can puncture. The integrity of the battery can be violated, and it can explode. It could at least burst into flames, if not worse. So they usually treat that stuff so seriously. I'm surprised that they were not more helpful.
Well, I listened back to the podcast, and I forgot to tell you, I purchased the S6 Edge from T-Mobile refurbished. So like I told you, I wasn't the original owner.
Doesn't matter. They still have liability. Samsung has liability for it, but they may make it a little harder because you don't have a warranty, that kind of thing.
Well, I told them that I listened to Leo, and I mentioned Leo, and then I said, I have a question for you. I said, I have the Note 8 unlocked. I have the S9 unlocked that paid for. I have receipts for those, which I sent you the receipts for the S6 as well. And I said, with Leo's listeners, that you can't tell me no one from Samsung doesn't listen to Leo Laporte. And I said, I have a question. I said, listen to me very carefully. I said, if Leo Laporte called or anybody from the staff called, would you give him a problem? Hold on, sir. Okay. Give me 1 second. I came back and said, I totally agree with you. I know who he is. Hold on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
3 days. I got a check for $679.
The power. I didn't know that worked. I would have said, don't do that. They'll go, who?
Exactly. Well, I told them, I said, I'm not $679, but you can take my money for the Note 8 for unlocked, S9 unlocked. They're fully paid for it.
Good.
But you're giving me a problem that...
Yeah, you know what? Regardless of your use of my name, I doubt that actually had much effect. The fact that you're a super fan and you buy their phones, you're the customer they want to keep happy. But there's also the larger liability issue that is really not insignificant. When anytime a battery is compromised, these lithium-ion, you know this now, right? You can't even bring them. I was kind of embarrassed. I had forgotten that the rule had changed about bringing lithium-ion batteries on a plane. When I was coming home from Japan last month, it was in a hurry. I have those battery packs you use to keep your, charge your phone, that kind of thing. I threw it in my checked luggage. You can't do that anymore. And I tell you, I have people in Japan are so polite. In America, I would probably have been behind bars. But in Japan, the guy I had already gotten on the plane. They sent a flight attendant down and said, "Oh, Mr. Laporte, would you come to the gate? We have a little problem with your luggage." I went, "Oh, no." I went. The guy was really sweet, very polite. He said, "You need to open this up because inside we think there's a battery inside." I said, "Oh." And I opened it up, and yes, sure, I'd thrown those two portable battery packs in my luggage. You can't check those anymore because of the threat that lithium-ion batteries pose. They want you to have them in the cabin. It's funny how the rule kind of went back and forth for a while. Remember, we'd heard that you wouldn't be able to bring your laptop in the cabin, that you'd have to check it. Then somebody realized, if there's a fire in a lithium-ion battery in the hold, that's a lot worse than if it's in the cabin. At least if it's in the cabin, you could do something about it. I don't know what. You can't throw it out the window. In any event, these are serious issues. Lithium-ion batteries are not to be toyed with. And if one is, and sometimes they do swell. And if you have a laptop, a phone, any device that has a lithium-ion battery, and if it's started to swell and you see a deformation of the case, you need to don't charge it anymore. Don't use it anymore. Bring it back to the manufacturer. And in my opinion, the manufacturer needs to jump. Maybe he doesn't give you a check for the amount of the phone. That's, I think, pretty generous. But they at least need to fix it. Because that phone is now, it's a bomb. It's dangerous. So we need lithium-ion batteries. You want to treat with some caution, and I think the world is finally doing that. For a long time, you just bring whatever you want, put it anywhere you want. What could possibly go wrong? And I think the change in attitude came with remember the hoverboards. We have a friend who works for our accountant. Actually, she's a partner at the accountancy, who bought her son a hoverboard for Christmas too. Remember that was the Christmas present of the year a couple of years back. Those. You don't see them anymore, do you? Do you? Those boards the kids ride on, they look like a skateboard, but they got lithium-ion batteries, and you ride around on them. She's given one to her kid. He plugged it in to charge it in the house. They walk away. They hear a bang. Go back in. The battery on the thing has exploded. The house is on fire. It's lucky nobody was around, because when it exploded, it sent shards of metal and hot chemicals through the area. The house, they had serious, I think, $30,000 in damage in the home because of one of those hoverboards. And I think that's when everybody sat up and said, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." But really, it's important to understand that anything that's storing energy poses some risk. If you're storing a lot of energy, as you are in a battery or in a tank of gas, if that energy normally the energy is released slowly. But if something goes wrong to the chemistry and the energy gets released quickly, that's an explosion. It's at least a fire, possibly an explosion. And so anything that stores up a lot of energy has that possibility. Anything. That's the nature of it. Now, some have less volatile chemistries or are less vulnerable. Lithium-ion turns out. We thought it was pretty, stable. But you probably, if you want, you can go to YouTube and look at videos of people hammering nails into lithium-ion batteries and watch them burst into flames. So it seems that Samsung and any company that makes phones should be very responsive if you go to them with a swollen battery. That's not a good thing. Dan in San Francisco, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Dan.
Oh, hello. Is this Leo?
It is.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for taking my call. Okay, Leo, you are a tech genius. I'm a kind of a tech moron.
Oh, no. Let's not put labels on it. It's not your fault that you're dumb. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
Well, I prefer ignorant.
Ignorant. Yes, that's right. Okay.
Okay,
fair.
So I'm going to just fire off a couple questions, and I'm going to write down your recommendations. I would like I have a very old notebook, a MacBook, the Black Book.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You paid $100 more for that paint job. So did I. That's how dumb I am.
I'm sorry. I bought this thing in 2007. It was a 2006. It lasted beautifully until about 2015, 2016. Nothing but problems since, and I think I need to get something new.
Good news.
Yes. So my question is this. I love Apple, but I'm going to be getting I want to get an iMac. And so what I really want is a recommendation for a kind of a low-budget laptop that has good screen visuals and that is, not too expensive and it's basically reliable.
I would actually, depending on what you need to do, you may need a full operating system, but I would look at a Chromebook and maybe one of the Acer aluminum Chromebooks. We're talking several $100. That's all. Now, remember, it's a Chromebook, so it doesn't do everything a Mac would do. But I think for a lot of people, they overbuy the operating system. You don't need a general-purpose operating system if what you do is email, surf the web, buy things online. 99% of the things we do, messaging, you can do on a Chromebook. And it's a few $100. It's much more reliable, much more secure. If you do need a full laptop, no Apple laptop is under $1,000, unfortunately. The good news I was mentioning is that WWDC, the Big Apple Developer Conference, is coming up June 4th. Next, what is that, a week from Monday. So that is almost certainly when Apple will announce its next generation laptops, perhaps even some low-cost ones. There's a rumor there'll be an $800 or $900 MacBook. Maybe it'll be a MacBook Air. So if that's within your budget, that might be a good choice. If not, there certainly are Windows PCs. I would look at HP. They have Acer also, again. They have low cost. In fact, Acer makes the Chromebook essentially the same laptop with a Windows 10 operating system. You pay the Microsoft tax, so it's more expensive. So there are a couple of inexpensive choices, sub-$500 choices. But remember, when you buy a $500 laptop, you're going to make compromises both in speed and quality. You just can't not do that. When you buy an Apple, you're essentially buying a higher-end equipment. And so, especially when you get it new, as opposed to used, you're likely to get a good 5 years out of it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Website, we put everything I talk about on the website, including audio and video of the show afterwards, techguylabs.com. It's free. Marquardt. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you
Did
very
you
much.
do anything fun yesterday at the Viewfinder Villa?
I did. No, I didn't do anything at the Viewfinder Villa, but here's a little snippet of video. Go to tfttf.com/castle video.
Ooh, there's lots of castles in Germany.
I held a photo workshop at a castle. It's just a short snippet, but it's just so much fun.
We did the Castles on the Rhine tour, man. We saw so many castles.
You're probably totally fed up with castles,
No,
but we pretty much owned a castle for a weekend.
Is it castles or castle?
Castle workshop.
Oh,
tfttf.com/castle CASTLE workshop. No, Castle Video. Sorry.
There you go.
Castle Video.
There you go. Now
I didn't get much sleep over the last couple of days. No,
he's been spending time in the castles. Oh, look at that. Which one is this?
Berlepsch, BERLEPSH, and look at the photo session up on the tower.
Oh man. Oh, you guys are all up there. Somebody's got a drone. Which drone did you use?
It's mine. It's a Mavic Air.
Love the Mavics.
I
told you I sank my Mavic Pro in the Caribbean. It was sad.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sad. It's so much fun, but the views you get like this, and the video is so good.
Oh, and this is 4K. This is now zoomed in, but the 4K is
amazing.
Brilliant, yeah.
What town is this in?
It's in the north of Hesse. It's Witzenhausen, Witzenhausen.
Nice. Happyshooting.de. Is that a new thing for you?
No, that's the German podcast that I've been doing for 12 years now.
Nice. I didn't know that.
So we do photo workshops every now and then, and that's one of them in a great location.
Nice. Well, we'll talk in a few minutes.
We will. Talk to you then.
Thank you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. John in Vista, California is next. Hi, John.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Let me get off the speaker here for you.
No problem. I hear you heading down the highway.
Yeah, I'm heading down the highway. I need some recommendations on a small printer scanner and I think maybe probably a Chromebook would work for my office. And I didn't know if a Chromebook would work for a printer or not. So it's one of the things I was checking on to see.
Yeah. So Chromebooks work fine with printers, but not usually by direct connection, although I suppose you could perhaps. Most of the time, and it may only be the only way you could do it, they use something called Google Cloud Print to print. And so the way and almost all printers nowadays support cloud printing, whether it's Apple's AirPrint or Google Cloud Print, or most often both. The reasoning is that a lot of computers, like iPads, don't even have USB ports, and Chromebooks, while they have USB ports, may not. In fact, I suspect they don't have drivers for printers. So all of this has to be handled in a different way. And so, for instance, I have our sponsor Epson makes all-in-ones. I have an Epson Workforce Pro printer. And what you do is you go in the settings and it has a cloud print section, and you set it up for cloud print. You can either go through HP's system or go through Google's system. What I did is I set up HP's system, or not HP, Epson's system to work with cloud print. You use your Google account, and then what happens is you then print. In effect, you're printing over the internet, which it has another advantage. You can do it anywhere. And it's secure because it's going through your Google account. So your Chromebook is set up with your Google account. You print via cloud print, and it comes out your printer. It's kind of cool.
Small and probably a laser printer. because I don't need to print in color, and I want something that's fairly small and compact, and it's a combination. I just need scanning and printing, and I don't mind feeding it one page at a time because I'm in a really pretty confined space in a truck.
Sure. So, that makes sense. You want it in the cab with you. Yeah, a lot of truckers, I'm always impressed by how many truckers have, like, basically home offices in their cabs. They got everything.
Yeah, I'm constantly looking on the computer for new loads and that kind of thing. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm having to fax paper or email paperwork back and forth for signed contracts and those kind of things.
I do like your idea of using a laser. I think it will do better in the truck because vibration's not great for inkjet printers. HP makes some laser jets that are, I don't know how small they are. Let's see if we can find a small. You want a laser printer that is multifunction. And multifunction means merely that it does more than print. And in this case, all you need is printing and scanning. Often the third part of multifunction you get with scanning, which is copying, which is essentially scan and print. And then faxing, I don't think you care about faxing.
No, I don't care about that, no.
So I'm just looking to see. Brother makes some very nice, inexpensive laser printers, but often these guys are not small, and adding the scanner is going to add to the size. I am not sure what the answer is for that one. Let me ask if anybody listening or the chat room has a recommendation for a laser printer that will scan but is more compact so it can fit in the truck. Do you have an inverter so that you can power these things?
Yeah, I have both inverter. Well, the truck has an inverter built into it, so I have 210 volt outlets in the console of the truck. So
yeah, you might. Somebody in the chat room saying you might forego the scanner, which means there are many good, very very small printers of all kinds that are compact but don't have scanners. You might forego the scanner and just use your smartphone. Nowadays, both iOS and Android have excellent apps. Google actually makes one. Apple, I think, does not, but there are many apps on iOS that will basically use the camera on your smartphone to do the scanning, and they'll arrange they'll fix the distortion to make it perfectly square. They'll even do optical character recognition. I think for a lot of people, they don't even need scanners. Yeah, I think it's a lot easier too because you don't have to then. You said you don't need a sheet feed. That's the biggest drawback to doing it with your phone is it's onesie twosie. But if you don't mind doing it, onesie twosie, then I think that's probably the better way to do it. HP OfficeJet 250 is a mobile all-in-one. The chat room's recommending $279. Mobile, print, scan, copy. Long battery life. See, often with them, mobile means battery life, and that's why I asked you about the inverter. You don't care about battery. Because you're going to use it plugged in.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, you're going to use it plugged in. But that would be one to look at. I'm not a huge fan of HP printers. Neat has a small USB scanner, as Beta 4 in the chat room's telling me. But I think using your smartphone, if you could put the paper down on a flat surface, you could almost always. I no longer use my scanner many times. I just take a picture of it and use scanning software to straighten it out and do the optical character recognition. So really, all you need is a compact printer, and you'll save money. And you'll certainly save space by not having a scanner on it. Then there are many choices with mobile. The other reason looking for a mobile printer is a good idea is because they'll be more robust when it comes to vibration. Somebody in the chat room saying you got to be careful with a laser, even a laser printer in a truck. You could shake loose the toner cartridge and maybe have toner leaks. So the OfficeJet 250 is probably the best known all-in-one mobile. But Epson, Fujifilm, and Brother all make small compact printers. I think you'll find some good choices there. And keep listening because I think the chat room or somebody will call in or, we'll get some more recommendations from people who have used these. Brother has a tiny single feed scanner, the DS Mobile 620. I think you don't want a scanner. I'm going to say you don't want a scanner. I'm going to say use the scanning software. There's a variety of it. On your phone. If you have an Android phone, Google actually has scanning software. And those do just great. Photo guy coming up. Leo Laporte, Techniker. Alles Gute zum Geburtstag. It's pretty bad, huh?
Dankeschön. That was very good.
Really? No, it wasn't.
It was very good.
Alles Gute zum Geburtstag.
Did you ask Google?
I asked Google.
Google is good.
Google said that's the most common, but then you could also say Herzlichen Glückwunsch zum Geburtstag.
Yep, that'll work too.
Yeah, or Herzlichen Glückwunsch nachträglich.
Nachträglich. It means belated.
Belated.
Like
oh, that's belated happy birthday.
And a thing in Germany, you do not congratulate someone for the birthday ahead of time. That's bad luck.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Oh. So
well, of course it isn't.
Yeah, because But if you died before your birthday, you would be very sad.
Going happy birthday like a day in advance.
Oh, not good, huh?
No.
Good. So I should do the Herzlichen Glückwunsch nachträglich.
No, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
It's a hard language.
I'm not a real birthday kind of person anyway.
No, me neither. But there's really a difference between birthday people and not birthday people. And the birthday people don't get it if you don't really make a big deal out of their birthday.
I sometimes I forget my birthday.
Yeah, me too. I don't care about it at all.
People call me and they go, "Hey," and yeah.
Yeah. And I don't go on Facebook during my birthday any like with I don't want to, and it's just. Oh,
I appreciate people like congratulating me. It's but, and I'm about to get into that age where it's an actual achievement to get another birthday.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. I'm at the age where it's actually depressing.
Oh,
I don't consider it an achievement.
Well,
all right. What do you want to talk about today?
I want. Well, we did a photo session. We did a photo session with models on the workshop over the weekend.
You want to do the castle?
Try to bring that into like everyday life for people.
Taking pictures of beautiful people. Here we go. Chris Marquardt is here. He's our professional photographer. It almost sounds like tame photographer. He
sounds like it.
He joins us every week to talk about getting better pictures. It doesn't have to be with your pro camera. Although lately, it's so interesting. I talk to people, and they know I'm a photo buff. And it's really interesting how many what I would call normal people are now asking the question, should I get a DSLR or a mirrorless camera?
Oh, yeah. It's still in the minds of people that those bigger cameras are better, and in some respects they are, in some respects they aren't. So,
What do you shoot?
Which also means
you're a Canon.
Means that the manufacturers do a good job in their marketing.
That's true. A lot of it's just marketing, right? Yeah. What do you shoot a Canon, right? A Canon 5D.
I'm still with Canon. Yes. But it doesn't really matter. I mean,
no.
I'm not making a recommendation because Canon makes good cameras, Sony makes good cameras, Nikon makes good cameras, Olympus.
Let me ask though.
All of them.
So so one of the fellows I was talking to had already had a Nikon, and he was trying to decide whether he should stick with Nikon and get the new 8500, or whether he should switch and go over to the Sony mirrorless. And I said, well, you've already got Nikon lenses. That's a no-brainer. You stick with what you got. There's not a big difference.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, if you had nothing, you were going from a point and shoot, you didn't have any investment at all, would you go mirrorless
at this point? I would probably go mirrorless at this point. I mean, they're not as big in size, but if you have lenses, you have made an investment, and you don't want to throw that away. If you've been with a brand and you have those menus down and you know how they operate, then that is an investment too. So
I told him to get the 850, and you know what? I think that's an amazing camera. So
he'll
be very happy.
It's better than I am. If I shot that camera, it would make a difference which camera I shot, because they are all from a technology point of view so much better than whatever I can do. So,
and you're a great photographer. Imagine how I feel. So today we're going to talk about model photography.
Well, sort of. So I've spent a weekend in an old castle here in Germany. We do this around the Happy Shooting Workshop, our German photo podcast. We do photo workshops every now and then, and for this we rented a room in an old castle, and went there with photographers and with a few models and with a model coach, and learned how to work with people in front of the camera. And 99% of our photography is snapshots, right? If we take pictures even of each other, they're snapshots.
Yes.
And what I want, and the weekend just reminded me that what I want to suggest is maybe try a deliberate photo session every now and then with your friends, with a family member, as in go somewhere and deliberately spend an hour or two taking pictures of each other. And that can change so much. And of course, you want to think about a few things like location. Where do you want to go? Things that work really well are simple backgrounds. I just came from a castle. Brick walls, for example, wonderful. Or concrete structures, or stuff with lots of plants like a botanical garden or a zoo. Stuff that you like to take photos in. The background is really important. What's behind your subject or your model? It's also helpful if you find a location that doesn't have too much traffic, like not too many people, because that's kind of intimidating. So find a corner somewhere where, you won't be bothered too much.
You know what my secret is? I only have one secret. Actually, two secrets. One is, if you're lucky enough that you have a decent camera, instantly people will think you're more professional if you use depth of field to bring the model into focus and the background out of focus. Apple calls it the portrait mode on their iPhone. And even if you're a stinky photographer like I am, that makes it look immediately more professional. So that's
the photos come out with that certain look, and that is with the cameras. That's one reason to kind of upgrade to a camera with a bigger sensor, because it helps you to throw that background out of focus.
My other secret is have a side light, a single point of light. Maybe just put the person near a window that has light coming in. For some reason, you combine those two, it always looks good. And then you can
light that doesn't come straight from the camera.
Right.
Always better if light comes from the side. Turn off that flash. Another thing you can do when doing this photo session, bring some props, bring some hats, some different jackets or clothes and stuff. Maybe a beard to stick on. I don't know. There are lots of ways to kind of spice that up. Think about the time of day. It's really beautiful, like in the last hour before sunset.
Yes.
That's where the sun goes like really warm.
The
and
magic hour.
A warm glow magic. We call this the golden hour. And then what camera? It doesn't really matter. Bring your mirrorless, if you have a DSLR, but a smartphone will do just fine. If it does do portrait mode, that's wonderful too. And then, to play with the different things like portraits. Try close ones. Try ones from further away. Take some in the sun or in the shade and look what that does to the light. Maybe have a single person in front of the camera or a couple of people in front of the camera. And the reason you want to do this, I mean, that's kind of the most important thing, is you learn to get over those inhibitions of working with people in front of the camera, because there's a hurdle there with a lot of people
on both sides.
Someone, look to the left, look to the right.
On both sides, it's not just the photographer, the model also, right?
Definitely. So it's almost for some participants on our workshops, this is almost like a therapy session.
It's uncomfortable.
They're really kind of afraid to work with someone. But then when you do this, you get better at it. And then next time it's going to be so much easier. It's great to practice with friends because it's kind of a safe environment. No one will be mad at you. You can go through the photos together and then decide, I hate my nose on that. Don't put this online. You can really make this a social interaction, a social exercise. And then, of course, you potentially have some great output for that. And it's a very useful output, maybe for a new avatar on Facebook or for your website, for your business, for whatever, or just some beautiful memories with friends. So make that a thing like once a month, meet with someone and do a 1 hour photo session together. And you'll thank me if you do this, because you will have great photos after that.
And by the way, your friends, once you get over the hump, the barrier of embarrassment, your friends will love you because you're getting these great pictures of them. They're the center of attention. Not everybody likes that, but there's some people who just go, oh, this is cool. I like this. I like being a model. And the photos are often surprisingly good if you just put a little effort into it, right?
Oh, we had a modeling coach with us. So the three models we had were kind of inexperienced, but we had a coach to help them and us as photographers to about how to work with people in front of the camera, and she's a professional actress and a professional model, and she says that's the way she was discovered. She did photo sessions with friends, and then one of the friends posted one of those photos on Facebook, and then the next day she had like 100 comments on it.
Wow.
So it can go really interesting ways. So maybe it'll even make you famous. Maybe.
That's a good way to find a model, because every aspiring actor needs headshots. These are the full-on pictures the face pictures that you send to agents and casting calls so that people know what you look like. Every actor needs these. You're going to get somebody who's starting out in acting who needs headshots, but who is already a little bit of a showboat. And you might have.
Oh yeah, that helps. That helps for sure.
Yeah, you might have a lot of fun. Chris Marquardt's at discoverthetopfloor.com. That's his workshops and his podcast and all of his great teachings, including his books. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Fun segment. And I didn't even say Gadanka Badanka Daganka, your happy birthday or whatever that was.
That's fine.
You know, Michael,
totally fine with
our 15-year-old loves German. It was actually his German teacher, Uli, who asked about the camera. He's a Nikon.
Uli, that's my middle name.
Is it? Oh, that's great.
Ulrich. Hard to pronounce.
Yeah, Ulrich. Yeah, Uli's great. He's such a sweetheart. He comes over. He teaches Michael at school, and then he comes over and tutors him for another hour. Michael loves German, and it's so cute to hear them speaking German. It's amazing because it's such a difficult language, but he loves it. Anyway, Uli's a pretty accomplished photographer, and I guess he has a Nikon. He was looking at the D850, which tells me he's pretty dedicated. But he knows I use a lot of Sony gear. He said, "Should I switch?" I said, "Hell no. You that 850's hell. If I could afford it, I'd get an 850. That is a nice camera, and it's a Sony sensor, so you get the best of both worlds."
Yeah, definitely. Right. Don't switch if you don't have to.
Don't switch.
You don't have a real good reason for it. Don't.
Yeah. I switched just because I don't know why. Because I keep thinking maybe I'll be a better photographer.
But then okay. But you have a valid reason. You love technology. You love to play with tech. So that can be a valid reason, of course. It's not a photographically valid reason.
No, not at all.
It's a reason after all.
Right now, I'm just I'm sticking with the 50 millimeter Leica aspherical lens on a Sony A7 R2.
Don't you love that lens?
Yeah, and the R2 is like 42 megapixels, like almost medium format quality, and so it's a great combination. And it's manual focus. It's very slow. You have to really think about what you're doing.
It's a good teacher.
Yeah. I wouldn't take it traveling because I wouldn't have enough versatility or speed, but for just getting around and thinking about and taking interesting pictures is wonderful.
You know when you do that, when you take that for travel and just as your only camera lens combination, that's when you will kind of advance to the next stage. Because you have to force yourself to working that way.
Should I do that on my next trip? That would be brave.
My highest recommendation. That's my biggest steps I did when I limited the amount of equipment I took on tours. I did the entire Himalayan tour with one camera and a 24 millimeter lens.
It's nice because it's light and it's easy.
Oh yeah. It'll change your photography. It'll change your photography.
So a nifty 50 and get 50, out there.
50.
All right. Okay.
Manual focus. Oh! Hey, you'll be a different. It's scary, I know, but you'll be a different photographer when you return, and a better one.
It's f1.7, so it's fast.
Awesome.
Or is it 2? It might be 2. It's fast enough, but it doesn't have. Its minimum focal length is like 0.7 meters. It's pretty distant.
That's fine. You'll manage.
I'll get away. All right. Okay. You talked me into it. It would sure be easier than carrying a big bag with me and all these lenses.
Where's the next trip take you?
Barcelona.
Wonderful.
Barcelona, Spain, Italy, Malta, Morocco.
Beautiful.
We're gonna see. This is gonna be a great photographic opportunity. We're going. Yeah. But so that's. I don't want to kick myself and say, "Gosh, I wish I had."
No, you will. You won't. You might one or two times, but you'll be so much happier with your photos when you come home.
As always,
trust me.
You're my mentor.
I've been there. It works.
Nice.
It's scary, but it works.
Okay. Oh, you talked me into it. Thanks, Chris. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.
Take care. Until next week. Bye.
Bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Oh, I don't remember what the photo assignment is. I was going to tell you about the photo assignment, And I forget. It's hand, isn't it? It's hand. So what Chris does each week on the show, of course, is talk about photography. But then he also gives us an assignment. We usually have a month. There's no reward. It's not a competition. It's really mostly just to give you an excuse to go out and take pictures. And you don't have to have a fancy camera. A camera phone is fine. A point and shoot is fine. An Instamatic would be fine. So he's asking this month that you take a picture that illustrates the word or concept hand. And the way you can participate is take a lot of pictures. That's the main point of this. But find the one you really like each week. Then upload it to Flickr, which is the free photo sharing site. It was from Yahoo. It's now owned by SmugMug, which is great. They're really going to be, I'm very excited what's going to happen there. I don't know if that transfer has happened. I think you still have to log into your Yahoo account to get there. We have a group on the Flickr site called the Tech Guy Group, 11,000 strong, something like that. A lot of people in it, a lot of photos too. Upload your picture, tag it with the word hand, if you will, so we know it's a submission for that. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will thank you. Put it in the pool. Chris, in a couple of weeks, will look through the pool, pick 3 to talk about on the show. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to kind of stimulate you to get out and take pictures, but also to get comments. And this is the best part about Flickr. And I know with SmugMug it's going to get even better because it helps to become a better photographer if you see your pictures through others' eyes. And the community on Flickr is very good about it, saying, I like this, I don't like this, this is good. I have problems with that. It's very valuable. So take a picture illustrating the word or concept hand. Back to the phones we go. Line 1 is Gerald in Lufkin, Texas. Hi, Gerald. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Gerald.
Hey, I'm looking at creating a website with WordPress, and through setting it up, it talks about either transferring the domain name or linking to it.
Ah, yes.
And which do you suggest?
So I'm going through this with my daughter right now, actually. WordPress, by the way, is a sponsor of many of our shows, WordPress.com. I love WordPress. I've been a WordPress user since it started. My blog is on WordPress. You're doing the right thing, which is you have your own domain name. You know, if you just set up a blog with a site like WordPress.com, it'll be, yourname.wordpress.com, which is fine, especially if you're first starting out. But ultimately, you might want to spend the $10, $15 a year. It's not very expensive to have a domain name that reflects your business or your name or whatever. Mine is leolaporte.com. Go figure. And so now, if you go to leolaporte.com, though, it'll go to WordPress. And as you point out, WordPress gives you 2 choices. So to understand what the choice means, you have to understand how this all works. It goes back to how the domain name system, or DNS, works. The idea is essentially it's a phone book. You enter in leolaporte.com, and then your computer looks up in the phone book the address of that, the dotted quad. It's 4 numbers separated by periods that represent the actual address of the server. 192.168.1.1. That's the actual server address, and that's what the browser needs, the computer needs to visit that site. It doesn't need leolaporte.com. It needs the actual address of leolaporte.com. So there's this lookup process. The phone books for all of this are maintained by a non-governmental organization, nonprofit called ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. They're the ones that match names to numbers. And ICANN franchises companies called registrars. And that's where you get your domain name. GoDaddy is a registrar. VeriSign is a registrar. Dotster is a registrar. Our sponsor Hover is a registrar. These are all companies that are franchised by ICANN to sell domain names. And you need to go to somebody like that because when you buy a domain name from them, they send it up and put it in the phone book. It's got to be in the phone book or it's no good. So you at some point registered a domain name with a registrar. That registrar maintains a DNS entry for you, a domain name server entry for you, that matches your name, leolaporte.com, to your number. And when you manage your DNS, you edit your DNS, you will tell it where to go. So you have 2 choices. You can keep your domain name with the existing registrar and then edit the DNS record at that registrar is to point to WordPress.com. Or for a fee, and by the way, that'll cost you nothing. Okay, you might have to have you'll have to have the cooperation of WordPress to, you'll have to wire it up, but that'll cost you nothing. Usually, I'm not sure with WordPress, but the other way of doing it is transferring the record to change your registrar over to WordPress.com, because it turns out they're also a registrar. Not all web hosting companies are, but WordPress is. So you can say, and that does cost you money, because you're going to pay them for the domain name service. So that would take who's your domains registrar right now?
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy. So that would take it away from GoDaddy. Good luck, by the way. GoDaddy holds on with a vice-like grip. It would take it away from GoDaddy. You would no longer have any relationship with GoDaddy on that name. You wouldn't be paying them anymore. It would transfer it. And this is all allowed by ICANN. ICANN has a whole process so that you don't have to be with any one company as your official registrar. So your two choices are to keep it at GoDaddy, modify your DNS record at GoDaddy to point to your WordPress site. And you'll have to have some cooperation with WordPress on that. You'll go look at this, the help file, and it'll tell you how to do that.
Right.
It's not clear. And, my daughter wanted to do this. She already has at hover.com her name, and she initiated the process of transferring it from Hover to WordPress. And actually, I would prefer it to stay with Hover. But that's kind of up to you. Sometimes it's easier to have Hover WordPress manage everything. It's just really up to you. I like the way Hover works. So my preference, leolaporte.com, is with Hover, but it links to WordPress.com. But they don't. It's kind of unclear when you look at it. You need to. I understand your confusion because they don't make it completely clear what's going on here. So that's the underlying information, and it's up to you to decide whether you want WordPress to be your registrar or GoDaddy to be your registrar. I have to point out that it is usually a fairly complicated process to transfer, because ICANN and the registrars don't want to make it too easy, because they don't want anybody to hijack your domain name. If you're McDonald's Corporation and you got McDonald's.com, you don't want Joe Schmo to come along and say, yeah, I'll take that. You want to make it hard. So you probably have a lock on it at GoDaddy. You have to release the lock. Often, GoDaddy will make it even harder. And if you change any information, for instance, on the registry, they'll say, oh, can't change it for 90 days now. So you can get it locked up. There's all sorts of things. So you need the cooperation. They're legally required by ICANN to cooperate, but that doesn't mean they always will. So prepare for a little bit of resistance from GoDaddy. And they say, well, that's because we don't want anybody to hijack it. You might also say they have an economic interest in keeping you as a customer.
Yes, I'm sure they do.
Yeah. And GoDaddy is, of all the registrars, the most notorious for being difficult to transfer away from. So you might want to avoid all that mess if you're happy with GoDaddy and just stay at GoDaddy.
Yeah, I'm happy with the GoDaddy. I haven't had a problem with them, ever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they went through a bad time. I was not a fan of them for a long time, but I think that they realized that they weren't doing themselves any favor, and they've kind of cleaned up their act. And you're already there. They're the best known. They're the largest registrar by far. So you're already there. So
it sounds like linking them to be the quickest way of handling it.
Yeah. So if you get the help file, you're going to have to tell WordPress that you're linking it over, that this is the new top-level domain, leolaporte.com. You'll have to change some entries at GoDaddy. If you're not familiar with editing your DNS record, that's a little tricky. You're going to have to create a new A record and do all that. But you can follow it like a cookbook, exactly, precisely. Don't ad lib. Follow the instructions, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I've done it one time before.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. First time's the hardest.
Yeah. Just to let you know, too, according to your what you suggested in buying it, I bought a Synology 2-bay.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'll be here Tuesday.
Oh, good luck. If you have any trouble, call me.
Sure will.
Yeah. I don't think you will. It's fun. And I'll tell you what, the Synology can do some amazing things. It's my favorite network-attached storage is what I use at home. I wish they were a sponsor. They're not. They just get free plugs. leolaporte.com. I've tried for years to get Leo.com. I really kicked myself because for a long time it was owned by the Royal Bank of Canada, whose mascot is Leo the Lion. So they had Leo.com. And I thought, I'll never get it from the RBC. And then they let it elapse. And I should have, you can put this notice on saying, if this ever lapses, let me know so I can buy it. But I didn't. And then somebody bought it now that is essentially, he's not a squatter, but he holds a lot of domain names. And it's highly unlikely I'll be able to get it from him for anything less than thousands of dollars. So probably tens of thousands of dollars. So Leo.com will no longer, I would love to have Leo.com. I really would. In fact, I should probably keep a little watch on it just to see if the thing is, it's with somebody pretty sure is going to keep an eye on it. So I have leolaporte.com. And I only have that because somebody else registered that at one point and decided not to keep it and offered it to me. And I said, yes, I'll take it. Because I couldn't get it for years. That's why Leoville was always my... a boutique venture capital fund, a.k.a. Somebody who buys and holds domain names. Flickr is pretty neat, huh? So I wonder when SmugMug will get Flickr. We're talking to Chris McCaskill on triangulation soon. Next few weeks, I think like in 3 weeks, and to talk about this whole acquisition and what they plan to do with it. So that'll be fun. Big sports fan tomorrow. What are we doing? Well, it's our normal day off. Lisa probably will work. I will be going to the gymnasium to work out, as I always do on Mondays. And then probably just take it easy. Maybe we'll do a little barbecuing. I don't know. I do not know. Mostly what I do in my free time now is I work I do my programming class. It's really fun. Just learned closures this morning. It's funny because I've been programming for 40 years, but I was for years a programmer in the type and pray mold. That's what they call it in this course, where you code and pray. You code and you just say, does this work? And then if it doesn't, you go back and you try it again. And then you try it again and you bang on it until it works. And so for years I've been trying to read the seminal text in all this, which is HTDP, How to Design Programs, which is a methodology including unit testing, and it's a really good methodology for programming. So you're going from type and pray to actually planning your program and writing it. It makes it more correct. And then I'm a big fan of functional programming. The functional languages are clearly a better way than the imperative languages to write software, in my opinion. And it clicks with me. I just love them. So the course I'm taking is at EDX. I think it's called How to Code, and I did the first one was How to Code Simple Data, and now I'm doing How to Code Complex Data, which is part 2. It's based on HTDP. So for years I tried to read this darn book, HTDP, which is free online at htdp.org. I've interviewed the author, one of the authors, and big fan of it. It's actually used in secondary schools in some places as kind of an adjunct to the math class. It's really good. Really, really good. But the book is very difficult. I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's their fault or my fault. But it's very hard to get through. And I've assaulted it like a castle multiple times. And each time I get a little farther. So finally, Sriram, who's the guy I interviewed, in I think it was on a Quora post, somebody asked him, what's the best course for HTTP? And he recommended this course by Gregor Gonzalez at University of British Columbia, UBC, and it's online. You can take it for free at EDX. So I took it. I actually paid for it because I wanted a certificate. I took it. I got 98%. I'm very proud of myself. But of course, it's kind of cheating because it's like if you're a Chinese language speaker, you're taking Chinese. It's, I've been programming for a long time, but I'm relearning it in a way because I'm learning how to do it right and getting away from type and pray to actually planning. So that's what I find it very valuable. And then there's a lot of concepts, especially in functional programming, that I've found thorny. Recursion was one, and they do a really good job. I really feel like I something clicked and I get it now. And the other closures is a little challenging, although it isn't, it turns out. But I've always been challenged by the concept. That's why I used the words lexical scoping this morning. And so I got closure down. So it's nice. So I feel like I'm relearning programming from kind of a classical perspective, a mathematical perspective. It's good. It's really good. And it turns out my instincts as a programmer are pretty good. So it's not, my instinct was always to, use abstraction and encapsulation, all these more modern concepts. I always kind of did that naturally. It just seemed right to me. So I'm not having too much trouble kind of getting it. So once I complete that, then I'm at a crossroad because that's the last course they teach. They teach it in Racket, Dr. Racket, which I love Dr. Racket. Despite its flaws, I love it. And they teach it it's not even Racket. It's a beginner's language, beginning student language, which has very few features. And they teach it that way so you don't get caught up in syntax and, learning the language. You learn coding first and the language is trivial, which in some ways makes it harder because, I'm looking for for loops and while and do loops and all this stuff, none of which are available in this beginning student language. It's very simple. But that was good. It forced me to do it right, and I did. But this is the last course that they use Racket. The next one in this Micro Masters series goes to Java and then TypeScript. And so I'll have to decide, am I going to finish the Micro Masters, which is 6 courses, probably take about a year, or maybe go, I don't know. But it accomplished my main purpose, which is to get through HTTP and understand it. So I feel pretty good about that.
Remote PC.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk tech, computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, augmented reality. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, well, you could still participate. You just use Skype or something like that to call, and it'll be free. It's a toll free number in the States. 888-827-5536. Website free and available to all, and a great place. I think I'm a little biased. A great resource. TechGuyLabs.com, TechGuyLabs.com, and the reason I like it is because it's free, no sign up. I mean, anybody can use it. You don't even have to listen to the show. You just go there. It's got a very good search feature, so you can go back through all of our shows, 1,492 shows, and find answers to questions, not just mine, but also comments from listeners, and that's intended to be kind of a resource. So. TechGuyLabs.com. Keep that around. That way you don't have to write anything down. Moving along to our next call of the day on line 4, Brett, Woodbridge, New Jersey. Hello, Brett.
Hey, Leo.
How are you today?
Okay.
Good.
I have a problem and 2 quick questions. The first problem is it must be linked up on my smartphone and my tablets, because when I go to the YouTube app, sometimes I hit the cast button by mistake, and then it casts over to my sister's smart TV, which I don't want it to do anymore because she's watching something.
Oh, that's terrible. And so she's watching Oprah, and all of a sudden your YouTube video takes over.
Yes, she's watching on her DVR, and she's getting a little mad, which I don't blame her.
Yeah. Something on her, either her TV or her DVR, or maybe she bought a Chromecast, but there's something there that's waiting for you to cast video over to it, right?
No, she don't have any Google stuff.
Well, something, because there's no way that would work otherwise. Are you on Windows? It might be.
I'm talking about on my smartphone. I did it
on your phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're pressing that's a Google Cast button that you're accidentally pressing up in the right-hand corner there.
Yeah, but how do I get rid of it so it doesn't?
You can't. It's part of the app.
By mistake.
You can't. It's part of the app. You might be able to go in the phone and disable. In fact, I'm sure you can go in the phone, go in the settings and disable casting. What kind of phone is it? A Samsung?
Yeah, Samsung J3 Eclipse.
I'm thinking she probably has a Samsung TV.
No.
No?
She has a Sony Bravia.
Well, somewhere, something is built in to be watching for you to send something to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So the easiest thing would be if she never uses that feature. Do you ever use that feature, the cast feature?
No, she just like...
The easiest thing would be for her to disable it wherever it is in the TV. Maybe that's not. She could disable it in the TV, but you could also you'll have to look through the settings in your Samsung.
Right. What is it again? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Samsung has a search in the top of the settings window, and just search for. It depends on what. If you search for cast, you might find the cast settings. And Samsung might have its own, I know they have their own technology for casting, but I don't remember what they call it. But you browse through the settings and look for the places where it says allow, to cast. I think it's right up there. My sense is it's right up there in the connections setting at the top of the settings page. And just disable that on your phone. If you never use it, you might as well turn it off. Yeah,
because I used to have a Google Chromecast, which I still have, but I don't use it no more because I have the Amazon Fire Stick.
Right.
But
So you just disable it in the TV or the phone, one place or the other.
Okay. And my next two quick questions is Comcast told me you can't do this, but how do I get the DNS server on the Comcast gateway, the Cloudflare 1.1.1.1?
So Comcast is wrong. You can do it. They don't want you to do it because by doing that, you're sending them everything you do on the line. They're capturing it and they sell it. We know they sell it. So to marketers and so forth. So you're right, and that's one of the reasons Cloudflare set up 1.1.1.1.
Yeah, because I have it on my Windows 10 and it's fast, but I want to get it onto
they call it a privacy resolver because instead of going through Comcast, who's monitoring what you're doing, you're going through a company called Cloudflare, where they promise we will never sell your data or use it to target ads, period. Yeah. So you have to do that usually in your router is the best place you do it. You can do it on individual devices as well. Most individual devices like Windows and Macintosh have DNS settings, but the best way to do it would be in your router. Now, Comcast may say you can't do it because you don't have access to your router. Do they let you log into your router?
Yes. 10.0.0.1, and that's the configuration page. But I looked and I couldn't see anything that let me change it to the static.
Well, it may be because you're using Comcast's router, the one they provided you. They may have taken that out. This is the kind of shenanigans that internet service providers do. This is why we need net neutrality, because internet service providers are greedy and terrible often. Not all, but some are. Comcast certainly is. And they don't want you to change it because they want to monitor everything you do. It's good for them. They sell it.
Okay, but
so you have a couple of choices. If you can't change it in the Comcast router, you can use your own router and disable the Comcast router. Just what you really want, and this is what I do with Comcast. What you really want is to have your own cable modem that you purchase. It's cheaper than renting it from them by far. You should check your bill and see how much they're charging you for the cable modem, but usually they rent it to you for somewhere between $7 and $12 a month. For $100, you can get your own, pay for itself in a year, and then get your own router. And it always is better to have your own router because you can have more capabilities. One of the things Comcast does, here's another fun thing that Comcast does. If you have an Xfinity router from them, they set aside some of your bandwidth for your neighbors. You probably noticed as you wander around Xfinity Wi-Fi, a free Wi-Fi service for Comcast customers. If I wander around Petaluma, my little town here, which is a Comcast community because they have a monopoly, I'll see those everywhere. And you sign in and you can use anybody's Wi-Fi. But guess where those comes from? People's houses. Comcast isn't buying access points. They're using your access point. So now you can disable that. You can go into the router, the Xfinity router, and turn that off. Most people don't. They don't even know it's happening. So Comcast is...
Well, it's not going to slow down my internet, though.
They say it does not. They say it does not. They say, oh, no, we allocate more bandwidth for the guests. But on the face of it, I don't like them selling my bandwidth. So the heck with you. This is just one of many predatory things Comcast does. Horrible company. Horrible.
So I have 1.1.1.1 on Windows 10, and it seems to be working really fast.
So that's the way. Yeah, it is fast. That's the way to do it. If you can't change it on the router, you can change it on, but you have to change it on each computer on your network.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's a pain in the butt. So it's always easier to do it on the router. Then it doesn't matter because the default for your computers, your phones, your laptops, your tablets is to just use the DNS server that the router's configured for. By default, the router's configured to use your internet service provider. But if you can get in the router and change it to 1.1.1.1 or quad 9s, there's a whole bunch of different ones you can use. 4.1s is a good one from Cloudflare. Then everything will use it because it just uses it by default. But it sounds like Comcast has blocked that in their router settings. So there's your choice. Get a new router, disable the Comcast router, or do it in individual devices. Hey, I appreciate the call. 8888 Ask Leo. The reason this is a pain is because you don't have a choice. There's no competition in internet providers. Every cable company has a monopoly in the community that they're in. I can't go to another cable provider. Comcast doesn't let anybody use their pipes. They're not required to by the FCC. Your phone company is, but that's DSL, and usually DSL is not as good or as fast as cable. It's a terrible situation we're in. This is why, again and again, I say it's so important that we have FCC regulation of these companies. They are predatory. They don't like anybody to tell them they can't do this, and they manage to lobby long enough and hard enough with the FCC and the Congress to overturn any regulation that prevents them from being predatory. It's called net neutrality. Look into it. And remember, we have an election coming up in November. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guide. Let's take a little tiny, teeny, weeny break. We'll come back and take more of your calls as we talk high tech. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Reboot your router. The FBI says, you don't usually get tech advice from the FBI. They say, reboot your router. This is a kind of interesting story. The FBI uncovered a Russian virus called VPN filter that has infected, they say, as many as 500,000 routers. I'll tell you the brands, but in my opinion, everybody probably should just reboot their router tonight before you go to bed or whatever. Just unplug it, wait 5 seconds, plug it back in again. That's all you need to do. Shouldn't affect anything, but it will clear out the virus. The virus can only live in memory. And a number of Linksys routers are affected. MikroTik, Netgear, QNAP, and TP-Link. But, and you can find the model numbers if you go to a Symantec site. Actually, you know what? I'll put this on the Tech Guy website, techguylabs.com, if you want to see if your router is affected. But I think that's a limited list that is perhaps not complete. Woman in Pittsburgh gave the FBI permission to monitor her network. She had an infected router. And the FBI was able to figure out how the software worked. Very clever. So routers are computers, but they're not smart computers. And they don't generally have permanent storage. So the virus didn't have a space to put itself. So what it did is it put a little bit, they could store permanently a little bit in the firmware of the routers, the affected routers, and that little bit loaded the rest of the virus into memory. Rebooting your router just clears the memory out, and the router's clean, except that there's that little bit of software which will then try to reload the virus, VPN filter, right? So when in the past, if you'd rebooted your router, it would just reload the virus and continue on. What is the virus doing? Well, it's not attacking you, almost certainly. The Russians don't care about you, but they want to use your router to attack infrastructure and the internet. And who knows what infrastructure they're attacking? Could be, and we actually think this is probably the case, like the power grid in the United States. Oh yeah, get ready, because cyber warfare is really going to become a problem. Russians use the Ukraine as a test bed. They've already knocked out the power grid in Ukraine for a couple of hours, kind of a test, using malware. And they've done other things in Ukraine. And this is kind of a test bed for cyber capabilities that they would presumably want to use against enemies. And guess who's number one on the list? It's us. So Fancy Bear, which is a Russian hacking group, best known for hacking the DNC, getting John Podesta's emails, Fancy Bear created this VPN filter. It's taken over, according to the FBI, 500,000 routers. I bet you it's more, and I bet you it's not just the routers that listed on this Symantec page, but many more. So I would say take the FBI's advice no matter what router you're using. When you go to bed tonight, unplug it, wait 5 seconds, and plug it in. The reason I say wait till tonight is you'll take yourself off the internet briefly, like for a minute or two as the router reboots and starts up again. The reason it's safe to do that now is because the FBI watched what was happening at this Pittsburgh woman's house and figured out that the malware, the little tiny bit of malware that's permanent in your router, was doing two things. First, it went to a site called photobucket.com. And this is a well-known site. A lot of people use it to do photo sharing. And there were two malicious images on PhotoBucket. And I guess in the metadata of the image, the malware was contained, is what I gather from the FBI report. Although it's hard to tell, the FBI doesn't, it's not. I need to see a white paper, something with a little more technical detail. But that's what it sounds like. Somehow they were using these two images to infect routers. The FBI took those images offline, and also coded into the firmware and this was the mistake that the Russians made, Fancy Bear made, is a hard link to a site called toknowall.com. Usually malware authors and in more sophisticated malware, we've seen this, they have other means of going out and getting information, because the problem is if it's hard-coded to one site, the FBI can do what it did, which is issued a warrant to, I think it was VeriSign, that owns the DNS. Remember we were talking about the phone book lookup, the DNS record for toknowall.com, and they took it over, effectively severing the link between the virus and your router. So you can safely reboot your router. It will try to go to PhotoBucket, not find those photos. Then it will try to go to knowall.com and get nothing. And meanwhile, the FBI is going to see every single one of you who goes there and know who's infected. That's why maybe that number is accurate. I don't know. Because you're going to go there, they probably can see what brand of router it is and so forth. But the good news is it won't get reinfected. And whatever bad stuff the Russians planned, Fancy Bear planned with your router will be thwarted. But boy, this is just the beginning. This is prepare yourself. We already know that most of the nation's infrastructure, its power grid, is infected or has been attacked, but in many cases already been infected by malware. The Russians are no different from other high-level hackers. They know how to use your router and other Internet of Things devices. And the real threat is not to you. Yes, your Internet of Things light bulb or microwave oven or router or camera can be used to get into your network, but that's really, they don't care about you. What they want to do is create an army of bots that can be used to attack other things. And if you have access to 500,000 routers that can send pings out to a single website, you can bring any site down, including those big domain name servers, the phone book of the internet, and bring the entire internet down. So you're doing us all a service if you reboot your router tonight. Everybody just, as you go to bed, unplug it, wait 5-10 seconds, plug it back in. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. In the chat room, good advice from Cheese Soda Punch. Probably not his real name. Cheese Soda Punch says, don't forget when you're back there unplugging and plugging in your router, it might be a good time, you could do that right now, to update your router firmware. This is unfortunately something you have to do manually on a lot of older routers. Modern routers should do this automatically, and I would not consider buying a router that did not. In fact, let me broaden that. I would not consider buying any Internet of Things device, any Internet-connected device that didn't automatically update itself. Because you shouldn't have to check one by one to see if your light bulbs, microwave oven, doorbell, router are up to date. But if you have an older router, and most routers are, sad to say, you should check, make sure you have the latest firmware, because one of the things I'm sure router manufacturers will do is patch their routers to make sure they're not vulnerable to this VPN virus. So maybe a little project for the weekend. Check your router firmware. And next time you buy an Internet of Things device, make sure it automatically updates. And the company's aggressively updating it. That's another thing. You know, you want a good company that's going to update. A lot of these router companies, they make these things, they put them out, and they say, that's it, I'm done. Bye. See ya. That's not good. Thomas, Milford, Connecticut. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Thomas.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
It's great. How are you?
Oh, man, I got to say, first of all, thank you for all the products that you sponsor, because I got a ton of them, and I just moved out of my parents' house.
Oh, nice.
It is awesome.
Well, I got to thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, but seriously, my Casper mattress,
nice.
Best mattress.
Nice. Ever. That's a good mattress. That's your first my first mattress. That's nice. My son, same thing. As soon as he got out of the dorms, sent him a Casper. His second, actually. Well, anyway, thank you, because the sponsors make this possible. They make all the podcasts possible. We don't charge for them, and we rely on advertising revenue to do it. And so thank you for supporting them, because they support us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So thanks again. But anyway, so the reason why I'm calling is maybe you can help me out. Maybe you got a suggestion. But so I also, speaking of sponsors, I got an EcoTank printer.
Nice.
I think around maybe a year and a half ago. Loved it, ET2550. I used it a couple of times. It was great. Great printer.
I hear a butt. I hear a butt coming.
Yeah, there's a butt coming. But in the middle of me moving out of my parents' house, Mom and Dad were not too careful with moving everything. So
wait a minute. Did they throw you out?
No. I
didn't throw it out the window, did they?
No. I didn't tell them right until I moved out. I've been planning this for a while, and then I just told
Good for you.
I moved out.
And, I'm sure they were upset at first because they're going to miss you. But it's also, speaking as a father whose kids have both moved out, it's a great feeling when the baby birds leave the nest. It's challenging, but at the same time, that's their job. Our job is to get you out there on your own.
Exactly, and I'm living with the best person, which is my brother. As a
nice.
So,
that's great.
My brother and I are like super, super, super close. So
isn't that nice?
It works out, right?
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
But anyway, so we were moving. So my brother was getting the printer to bring it back to the apartment, and my dad apparently picked up the printer and brought it down the stairs on an angle. And when that happened, because those tanks have to be very careful.
Yeah.
It started leaking in my brother's car.
Oh no!
And so there was like a big blue spot in the back.
I'm so sorry.
He had to use bleach, and he had to get it out of there.
Oh, that's terrible.
And my brother's like,
so really important. Actually, this is true of any printer. When you're moving a printer, you've got to be very careful. You don't want to bang the heads around. If you've got tanks, you don't want to spill. If you've got toner cartridges in a laser printer, same problem. Moving a printer is always tricky. Yeah. And you got to take a little extra care. Oh dear.
I don't know what to do now, because it was sitting right here in the kitchen underneath some paper towels, so it wouldn't leak anywhere. And I think my brother just moved it down in the basement or put it in a plastic bin. But we don't know what to do with it now because is it worth...
Well, I don't think it... So here's the question. Was it punctured or did it just spill out?
I think it just spilled out when it was being moved.
So once it's on a level surface, it should be okay. Now, if there's spilled ink, collected in crevices and stuff, that may spill. The only issue you're going to have is if that ink got somewhere and dries, and then, if it keeps the head from moving freely. I mean, it depends where it got, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to do with it because I just don't want it to I don't want to put it on my brand new nice.
Oh, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd keep it on newspaper or something. Well, to the degree that you can open it up, and you can get pretty good, you can get in there pretty well, open it up and look around and see how everything's going. I would use it a little bit to make sure that if some ink did get on any of the moving parts, that they're kind of moving it around will keep it from drying out. You can probably, inkjet ink, usually alcohol is sufficient to dissolve it and clean it up. So get some
alcohol.
Yeah, get some isopropyl alcohol. And some towelettes, and just you could wipe it down. Probably it'll be all right. As long as nothing was punctured, it'll probably be all right.
Nothing at all.
Now the good news is that's not an expensive printer. So if you decided I don't want to go through all that trouble, you can get a new one for sure.
Yeah, we were thinking about just bringing it back to Staples and recycling it. And properly recycling, right? Because
that might be easier than trying to make it all work. You can also call Epson and say, "Here's what happened." They'll have probably a page on the web saying,
I haven't looked yet.
Yeah, I bet you they will, saying, okay, well, here's where you have to look and clean. That shouldn't happen. I'm surprised those tanks aren't better sealed. Maybe you didn't close them tight when you filled them or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe that could have been when we first set it up.
Yeah, that should not happen, and I haven't had that happen. But it is the case that all printers have to be carefully moved because there's lots of little things that can go wrong. When you got it, everything was taped down. Right? When you first open a printer, there's all these things taped down. And they even say, save this for moving. A lot of times there's a little plastic things that say, save this if you ever want to move the printer because you want to keep those things locked down. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sorry that happened. Inkjet ink, and I'm pretty sure this is the case of the EcoTank ink, can be cleaned with 90% isopropyl alcohol. So that's a good thing. No, you don't need bleach.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. In fact, somebody's telling me when he got his Epson EcoTank, it comes with a plastic bag that is to be used when you move. So apparently this is not... Oops.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, you got to read those... Oh, man.
Darn.
Oh, man.
And I think I got rid of the box and everything because I'm like, I'm not going to move.
I'll never move.
Stay here, and it's going to stay here forever.
Let me ask you the important question. You got a job, Thomas?
I got a job, Leo.
Nice.
I got a job, all right. And I got a job because of you, actually.
What are you doing?
So I work at Apple.
Oh, that's a job? That'll work.
That's a job, all right.
Mom and Dad have to be pretty happy. That's great.
Oh, yeah. I work at Apple, and I think it's all because of you, from listening to you for all these years.
Oh, you're going to make me cry, Thomas.
And the way I talk to customers, I put in such a simple term that you explain all the time. So spreading the good word that you do on the radio, I do it to my customers, and I teach all the classes in the store. So,
oh man, I'm gonna cry.
iPhone basics, iPad basics, going on photo walks, and customers ask me about things about passwords and everything like that. And I just, I talk just like you when I'm talking to my customers. I got to thank you a lot for everything. So,
oh, Thomas, thank you for telling me that. That makes me really happy. Congratulations on the job. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's been fun. Absolutely.
Wonderful to talk to you, Thomas. Now I got to go. I got to go in the corner and cry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Actually, last segment of the show, so no need to call. But I will be back next weekend and every weekend on this same here radio station. I hope you will join me. We talk high tech every week. I want to make Thomas feel a little bit better. He moved his Epson EcoTank printer, sponsor, and spilled ink in his brother's car. Sorry. And I mentioned that there is a bag that comes with the EcoTank printer that you're supposed to put it in before you move it. Just so you don't feel bad, Thomas, that you didn't notice or forgot about that, I've set up a number of EcoTanks. That was news to me, too. Who reads? You don't read the materials that come with a gadget. You just, I don't. And just open it up and see what happens. You never know. You learn some lessons that way. John, Boston, Massachusetts. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, John.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
Great.
Good. How you doing? The issue here today with Drive Scott Wilkinson, absolutely crazy.
Uh-oh. What's the matter?
Yeah. Watching you for a while, I know you like your old movies. And
I do.
I think you watch Turner Classic Movies.
I love it.
And these days, everybody's doing the streaming thing. Yeah. And I think they own an app called Filmstruck, right?
Yeah. Well, there is a TCM app as well. But Films, I didn't know they owned Filmstruck. I love Filmstruck.
Yeah. I'm trying to use the Filmstruck app through the Android TV interface, which is a Sony Bravia. And I'm having trouble because when I try to stream movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s, which use 4:3 aspect ratio, they're all spread through 16:9, so they look.
Oh, that's annoying.
And there's nothing I can seem to do in the settings of the Sony TV because it's built into the app. So
so if you were playing it back on the Sony TV otherwise, the Sony TV, as all TVs do, have a variety of choices about how to scale or zoom the screen. And you've seen that. You rotate through zoomed, fit, 1:1, which is the one you want. You want to pick, in fact, I usually keep it on whatever that setting is that says use the native aspect ratio. Use the do it dot. Sometimes it says dot for dot or 1:1, and what it will do is it won't attempt to stretch, scale, or move the picture in any way. It'll just have black bars wherever it can't fill the screen. And on a 4:3 image from these old movies, that's what you'd get. It'd be centered in the screen, and you'd have black bars on the left and the right. And that's that's ideal. But I guess because it's in the app, you can't do it. So the other way to do this, the other way to do this, which would be probably give you better results anyway. I think I don't like smart TVs because they're only half smart most of the time. The software is usually terrible. There's problems like this crop up. Usually, what I'll do is in fact, if I could buy it, nobody makes it. I would buy the dumbest TV they make, which is basically a panel, a screen. And have everything else, the tuner, the speakers, the content, all come from external sources. That way, I could choose the best source. So in this case, you could use the Filmstruck app on a Roku, or I think there's an Apple TV app. I use it on my Android and cast it to your Sony. And I think in all those cases, the Sony would just see this as one more standard input, which you would then pay attention to that screen setting.
Yeah, I think because it's an app built into the TV, I'm having trouble. It's locked down by the
That's dumb of them. They should have thought of that, but that's the thing. Smart TVs are usually, and even Sony, which is a great company, but the smart software, most smart TVs is weak.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Is it up to the app developer, Filmstruck, to fix this, or is it Google's fault?
I wouldn't guess it's either. I would guess it's the Sony not handling the input from the app properly. It should see that the same way it would see it is if the app were running on a smartphone or on a Roku and say, oh, this is a standard video input I'm getting, and I should apply any settings that I have to it, including actual pixels.
Which works through HDMI ports, but not through the app.
Yeah, that's a limitation not of neither of Google or the Filmstruck app. That's a limitation of the way they implemented their smart TV technology. And again, perfect example of why I don't like smart TVs.
Now, do you use this Filmstruck app through an Apple TV at all?
The way I do it is on my Android phone, and then I cast it. I use Google Cast. Okay. You're right. I forgot this was TCM.
Yeah.
The reason I got it is has all the Criterion films, which are fabulous.
Oh, yeah, it's fabulous. They just bought the WB Instant Archive. I think it's 600 films they just put into their library now.
Yeah, Filmstruck you pay for. It's not free. It's not a cable channel.
No.
It's an over-the-top channel, filmstruck.com. I'll give them a plug. You can get it for, I think, $6.99 a month, although if you want the Criterion stuff, you have to pay a little bit more.
It's a good alternative to Netflix if that's not your cup of tea,
Yeah, I pay. I think I buy a year at a time, which is $100.
Yeah.
And that way, you get a lot. It's not modern movies. It's all classics, but they're good.
So when you do that, when you cast it, you don't have any trouble with the old movies being 4:3 then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think I would notice that.
Being such a thing like it is, you would expect it to be better because the people going there are real film buffs, you know?
It's not Filmstruck's fault.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. It's how your TV is handling Android apps. Again, I just hate it.
Yeah.
That these smart TVs, please, Sony, everybody, I just want the panel. I'm buying the TV not because it's smart. I have my own smart devices. I'm buying the TV because I want a great screen. I don't even need a TV tuner. And then slowly they're getting rid of all that stuff because it adds cost. But a lot of people, I guess, don't want to have a Roku or an Apple TV.
Yeah.
They just want to connect their TV to the internet directly. We know for a lot of reasons that's actually a bad idea.
Yeah. And
you know why Sony does it? Because they want them. Again, this is all. You don't have to look too far to figure out why companies do it this way. They get information about what you're watching, which they can sell.
Sure. And they don't have to worry about that end of the software. Sony lets Google handle that, and they don't have to worry about...
Right, but their platforms, the operating system is not good on the TV because it's not passing through the video.
And Android TV is really not that popular anyway. It's not like a Roku or
I use an Android TV on a Shield from NVIDIA, which is awesome. It's fantastic. But you're right, it's limited in some ways. If you're an Apple, if you buy a lot of stuff on the iTunes store, you should get an Apple TV. But if you don't care about the iTunes store, then you should get a Roku. And those are fabulous devices. And if you have a 4K TV, you should get a 4K version of either. And you're going to get, that's how I usually watch TV, is even shows like on HBO or TCM or Showtime, I very often will watch them through the apps on these devices. It uses data, not the cable, but I find it's easier for me.
Yeah, I've got rid of cable, so I'm going the cord.
Yeah, I probably should too.
I'm using this Filmstruck app with Sony PlayStation View because they also have Turner Classic Movies.
There you go.
So I'm not missing out on anything.
There you go. You're set.
Sports.
Yeah.
So everything's good. Yeah.
If you like old movies, everything's in black and white, but actually there's a lot of color movies in here too.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, I forgot it. Sometimes I forget I have Filmstruck. Thank you for reminding me. I need to install it.
You have so many things.
I have way too many things to watch.
Well, enjoy them on your holiday.
I will. I'm going to take a day off tomorrow and watch TV.
Okay.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Isn't that kind of a dream not vacation, but dream day off? You wouldn't want to do that for more than a day or two, but hey, we're going to say goodbye for the weekend. I hate to do it. I want to thank Michael Cozio, my musical director, spinning the discs today, pushing the buttons. Kim Schaffer for answering the phones. Most of all, I want to thank you for being here. You're the most important part of this show. Thanks for listening. Have a great Geek Week, and I'll see you next time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.